I'm thrilled to be here with you today to talk about this new article I'm publishing in Rotman Magazine titled The Rise of the Conscious Business. For many years, whenever people ask me, what would it take to build a more inclusive and sustainable society, my answer would be, well, we all as consumers and citizens have to raise our consciousness. What do I mean by raising our consciousness? And more specifically, what do I mean by consciousness? According to the Tantric yoga philosophy in India, we have 7 chakras or energy centers that are located in our subtle body. These chakras and energies shape our perspective, our motivation, and our behavior in a certain way. In other words, they influence and shape different states of our consciousness. Next. Next slide. So as you can see, we have 7 chakras. So the first one is about survival. And this is really about fear and the need for self-preservation. And once we feel safe, we have desires to have more stuff. And then we crave for power, for status, recognition, and control. As long as you lead a life which is completely controlled by the energies of these first 3 chakras, you have a mode of existence that I call the having mode, where you are filled with a sense of scarcity, and you tend to be more self-centered, focusing on fulfilling your ever-growing needs. The major shift happens when you unlock your heart chakra, which is the seat of compassion, which is the passion to reduce the suffering of others. And then as you raise in consciousness, you can unlock your throat chakra, which is the seat of ingenuity, so you can find your true voice and express it without any inhibition. And then as you go up, you can unlock your intuitive wisdom, which is far superior than your intelligence. And then finally, when you unlock the 7th chakra, you gain access to a sense of oneness with whole humanity and nature. Next. When you operate with the energies of these higher chakras, you will lead a mode of existence which we can call as the being mode, where you experience a sense of innate abundance and inner freedom, and you act as a servant leader. That is, you're vying to serve the needs of others. Next. There's no doubt that our capitalist society, which encourages competition and individualistic consumerism, exacerbates the negative aspects of our first 3 chakras. That's why for many years, I believe that we need to, build a post-capitalist society that will actually encourage us to cultivate the energies of our so-called upper chakras. Next. Of course, what I just presented so far is based on my belief that there were the bad chakras, the so-called lower chakras, and the good chakras, the upper chakras. Next. And I also tended to have this very Manichaean binary view of society, with more conscious people on one side and less conscious people on the other side. Next. And of course, I believe genuinely that if all of us as humans could raise our consciousness, we could rapidly shift from a materialistic society to a so-called spiritual world. Next. And then COVID struck. This tiny virus shattered my deep and long entrenched belief about consciousness. Over the past 20 months, major events radically transformed our understanding of consciousness, and particularly forced us to reevaluate our so-called lower chakras and helped us gain a better appreciation of the value. Next. As the death toll escalated last year with the rapid spread of the virus, we became more conscious in a way of our first chakra, which is survival, and we came to appreciate the importance of physical health. Next. But also financial health, Indeed, since last year, 22% of Europeans are facing poverty, and 167 million Americans in the richest country in the world, which is 2/3 of the US population today, are financially challenged, including myself. Next. You know, the second chakra, which is about desires, gets a bad rap. But guess what? Millions of young people are protesting the streets since last year, expressing their desire for a more sustainable world. Next. Let's talk about the third chakra, which is the seat of personal power. We saw last year millions of women long deprived of their personal power by a patriarchal system, taking it to the streets and reclaiming their power to become equal partners in our society. Next. And last year, we saw vividly how minorities are systematically deprived of the dignity and the power by a majority that holds too much power, as evidenced by this blatant killing of George Floyd by racist white cops. Next. So the events of the last 20 months challenged our perception of what is consciousness, and particularly helped redeem our lower chakras as being our essential chakras. And for many of us, we don't have overactive so-called lower chakras, but we have underactive lower chakras. Indeed, I would claim that we need to invest more in the physical and financial well-being of all citizens. We need to fulfill the desire of our children for a more sustainable future, and we need to give greater power to women and minorities. Next. In other words, if we want to build a better society, we don't need to raise our consciousness. We need to balance our consciousness. Next. That's why in my Rotman Magazine article, I am challenging the centuries-old vertical, hierarchical, and patriarchal perspective of chakras and introducing to you now a more balanced representation of the chakras. As you can see in this graphic, all chakras are equally valuable and collectively they contribute to our well-being. Now, when a business is able to manage and harmonize all its chakras in a consistent and systematic way, it will evolve, in my belief, into a conscious business. Next. So what do I mean by a conscious business? Is an enlightened organization that nourishes and harmonizes all chakras of its employees, customers, and partners so they can live, work, and relate with great awareness and purpose. Let me give you two examples of companies that are conscious businesses, and the leaders would think, operate, and connect and relate in a more wise manner. The first company is Eileen Fisher, which is a women's clothing company. The apparel sector is the second largest polluter in the world after oil. That's why Eileen Fisher is pioneering what she calls the slow fashion by launching fewer but more durable clothing each year. They became a conscious business by first creating a safe and nurturing workplace for its employees, many of whom are women. She pays her employees higher than industry average salaries, wages, as well as generous benefits and wellness programs. But more importantly, the company invests heavily in the personal growth of its employees by training them on how to boost their self-confidence, self-awareness, and self-leadership. Way back in 1997, the company set up the Department of Social Consciousness, the world first. This department for the past 25 years has increased public awareness and improved business practices in 3 areas: human rights, environmental justice and sustainability, and women empowerment. The company walks the talk by paying higher than industry average to its subcontractors in emerging markets. It is also transitioning massively towards what is known as regeneration which is beyond sustainability, by investing in organic and regenerative fibers, as well as reducing drastically the use of emissions, water, and energy all along its supply chain. And it encourages its customers to bring back old clothes, which are then upcycled into new products by its designers. The second example, next, that I want to share with you of a conscious business is the French insurer Maif, which calls itself an activist insurer. Last year, as soon as the COVID struck, the company maintained full salary for its 8,000 employees who were put on partial unemployment. Because of the lockdown, the car accidents in France went down by 80%. And this company boldly reimbursed 100 million euros of savings back to its 2.8 million policyholders. It also financially provided assistance to many of its business customers and local communities. These acts of solidarity cost the company 150 million euros. As a result, its net profit last year was divided by 4 compared to 2019. Its CEO, Pascal Demurger, did not apologize for the revenue drop. Instead, next, he was proud of this revenue drop because he says this is proof that we value above all solidarity. So you see, conscious leaders are focused on doing the right thing for all stakeholders, unlike other CEOs who focus on doing things right just for their shareholders. Next. In summary, as we come out of this COVID crisis, I really invite you to balance your own consciousness and help your company become a conscious business. I really encourage you to activate and balance all your chakras so you can lead more fulfilling lives.